What's up, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Jobber Knocker podcast. As always, is Nestlemania. Alongside for the ride is a man that drives the Mercedes and not a Beamer, JC.
Yeah, I don't have a deadbeat dad like Dom does. My dad actually got me a great Mercedes like everyone. Oh, God, they felt. Could you imagine? Could you imagine being 16, your parents getting you like, I mean, we're going to get there. You know what, Nestlemania? We're looking at it. We don't got any predictions this week. It's all just wrestling lead up to WrestleMania. We have AEW later in the show, but we're going to start off right in the shine, and we're starting right there, man. Like, it's just crazy to me. I was just saying to you before the show, if Cody Rhodes didn't exist, Dominic Mysterio would be my favorite wrestler right now, which is like, it's just insane to think about. Even like what, like when did he join Judgment Day? Like that was like 4 months ago at this point. So like even like 6 months ago seems insane, but it's one of those things. Like looking back, we got a promo on SmackDown where he said I should have been Eddie's son, which I thought was going to be the fucking highlight of the week. But then we get to Raw and we have another promo, and that's where he drops the, you know, all my friends were getting Mercedes, but you got me a BMW. It fucking killed me, man. This kid is just on another level with his just like comfortable. It's crazy to look at him and be like, this is a kid who did not look comfortable his entire run in WWE until this. And now every week he's getting more and more confident. And I'm like, it's just like what he's doing is unmatched. Like he is so good. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Judgment Day altogether, but these Dom and Ray segments, I tweeted this out. Besides Cody Roman, I think Ray Dom is my most anticipated WrestleMania match. And I know it isn't official yet because the storyline is that Ray's not accepting it, but I'm curious your take because I kind of loved that Ray is the headline of the Hall of Fame this year because I feel like they're going to make this into an angle too. It's just like, it's so crazy because a lot of the times, like obviously last year we had Braun Breaker crying when he was inducting like, you know, his family and everything. But for this one, it could be very different where it's not going to be like a sob story with Dom. They could be using it as an actual angle. And I think that could, in a weird way, make it even more special. Maybe they don't use it as an angle. But to me, like all of a sudden my wheels started going crazy when this happened because I'm like, man, like how often is it that a guy is getting put in the Hall of Fame and then he's likely fighting the next night at WrestleMania?
Yeah. I mean, it was funny. I was thinking about you cracking it open already. Wow. Okay. Is that a beer? What is that?
It is actually a Truly mango lemonade. They're from the summer. I had some of these in my fridge. I figured, you know what? It's like Arctic out there for some people. So I'm going to pretend like it's summer. Have a nice cool drink.
JC is a summer boy for sure. Absolutely.
I am absolutely a summer boy.
So no, I tend to agree with you. My head went into a different space though, because I was going to end up I thought about using this as my hope, but we'll use something else for my hope because this is just too good to talk about right now. I can't help myself when I think about the possibilities of Dom Mysterio and what's going to happen. The fact that he challenged him to a match on, I think was it Monday when he challenged him to a match at WrestleMania?
Yes, that was a Monday.
So I thought to myself, okay, we got what, 2.5 weeks, who knows? And then all I could think about was, okay, he's in the Hall of Fame. They're clearly dragging this around. They're having supposedly Conan do the introduction for this. Now, if you don't know, Conan is an amazing Mexican wrestler who basically has just parlayed himself into like politically the best person to deal with when it comes to Mexican wrestlers in general, as well as just having a great career. But he's clearly, known for Eddie Guerrero and getting, Rey Mysterio their starts and stuff like that. So he's very close to them. So when I thought about him inducting Ray, all I could think about was, and Conan, by the way, has a lot of health issues. He has a lot of kidney issues. And I would love to see a frail Conan just get like more like just beaten down and like the whole family's just mortified there at the Hall of Fame speech. And you're just like, this is supposed to be a nice night. And Dom is just like holding Conan hostage or something, being like, seriously, we're doing this tomorrow night. Like, I don't care what you say, we're doing it. And like, so it comes to a point where he has to do it to save his friend, maybe. Then he has to twist his arm and say yes. Cause that to me is just like, you use the frail Conan as a vehicle and we're in. We're fucking in. So I'm excited for it. Like you said, I don't expect Rey Mysterio to win, but who knows? Who the hell knows?
Well, it's interesting too, because I feel like the dream for Rey, like the rumor has been to always like hand his mask to his son in his final match and retire. But the way this feud is, I'm like, I feel like this might not be actually Rey Mysterio's last match. You know what I mean? Maybe it is, but it's I don't know. So that's a whole different part of it. But either way, just like the way they turn this, where this is something that they've talked about for a few years, Rey and Dom at Mania, and just having absolutely no interest in it until Dom joining the Judgment Day, and now this build up being like, this is so fucking good. Because there's some things like when you would do family, it's like part of why the bloodline's so good and why the Cody stuff is good. When you kind of take like real life family stuff and like intertwine it and mix everything together and use all that like real stuff in stories, even if it's like fictitious part, but if it's actually real, like we know like they're related, that's real things. But taking like the fictitious stuff around it, like that's usually what makes the best storyline. So this has been a home run for me, and I just can't wait. I hope we get Dom and Rey on every SmackDown and Raw leading up to Mania, because I don't see how I get sick of this, man. Like, this is one of the few feuds where I look at it, it's like, even if they try to overexpose this, I'm not going to be upset because this is just good.
Let me ask you a question. Do you get upset? Do you get upset if Rey Mysterio wins at WrestleMania? Like, do you feel like you're cheapened a little bit here?
No, it depends how they do it. That's the one thing that I like about this, is because it doesn't seem like an obvious arc, because I don't think there's nothing confirmed that this could be Rey's last match. If it is, you assume Dom would win. But if it isn't, it would make a lot of sense. Like if this is setting up like a trilogy, like between them, maybe like this is match 1 and then Rey disappears for a while or whatever, and they do match 2 at SummerSlam and maybe match 3, or I don't know, just like spitballing. Like if that's the plan, then I am okay with that. But it's, again, it depends how they do it. If this really is Rey's last match and he wins his last match against his son, then yeah, it's a little lame, but I don't think that's how it's going to go.
And Doug, who thanks for joining, Doug, he says the same thing. He thinks that the Hall of Fame speech, he's going to do something to Conan. So, I mean, I think that's the logical explanation here, right? Like that's where we're headed. The fact, I think the best part about WrestleMania, at least the last year, and I think they're going to continue doing this now, is that we don't really see the card as it is. Like we don't really know. There's some question marks, some mystery opponents, or just like things we didn't expect with one night or 2 nights. So I think this lends, like Doug says here, to lend it to the last second to be turned into something, especially with other things that could be going on at WrestleMania. There's a lot of moving parts, but like you said, I think if Rey Mysterio is going to continue, it wouldn't hurt Dom to win on the big stage here, because I don't think is Dom's only WrestleMania match last year.
I think so, but I honestly am not sure.
Okay, well. And of course, our dipshit friend over here says, "Got to thank Nestle. Thanks to him, I get to fix JC's back every week because he's got to carry Nestle all show long." You, sir,
cheers, doctor.
You are a true treasure, and I hope that you realize that I am the real caboose of this train. Just so as it is what it is. Anyway, what, you don't like that analogy?
That was weird, but I can't transition off it, because speaking of caboose, the caboose of WrestleMania, the main event of night 2, adrenaline in my soul, something, Cody Rhodes, yeah! They obviously set it up on Twitter. We had a first ever Cody Rhodes versus LA Knight in WWE, and I actually really enjoyed this match. It's a fun match. I thought it was a good little way to, LA Knight's hot right now. It's a guy that just like, somehow, even despite going through the Bray Wyatt thing, he's remained hot. He's getting good reactions from the crowd despite being a heel, because people just like this kind of guy. He's an asshole. He's a fresh face. He's a new guy. He's a guy that can talk. He has a simple style. He's easy to digest. And so I love that this was a nice little one-off for him to get a little exposure with Cody. It was obviously a good way to get Cody a fresh opponent and a fresh win. But I think the main thing that we're going to talk about here is what happened after the match, because Cody's cut he's kept good composure for the most part in his promos with Roman and Heyman. But in this one, he got a little emotional, and you kind of felt the passion. And part of the reason why Cody Rhodes is my guy and always has been, because every time I see him talk like this, I believe it. I always believe it when I say it, because that's just the way he sells it, because you can feel his passion oozing out of him for this business, for his family, for his career, for the fans, for everything. It's just like, That's what I love. I love when I can watch them. Like, man, this guy really does love it. And I thought that promo was superb and kind of, again, like, it's just Roman Reigns doesn't have to be there for Cody to continue to sell you on this match.
Yeah, look, Cody did like I thought. So first off, the match in general I thought was really good. Had really no business in my mind actually it taking place. It just kind of existed. But the match itself was a lot of fun to watch. That part where they did like the jump up and like almost suplexed him and then like dumped him on his head. I just went, you two are fucking insane. What are you doing? There's 3 weeks to Mania, but whatever. But then you could see him go, you okay? Because he knew he fucking dumped him on his head.
Yeah.
I think this promo, in my opinion, I tweeted it out, but it bears repeating. This was the best promo Cody Rhodes, in my opinion, has done in the WWE.
Wow.
I would even go as far. I would even go as
praise because he's done a lot of good ones.
I would say this is the one that made the hairs on my neck stand up when I went like, ooh, like, and I'm sitting there, listening in the dark, not being able to say much, but I know that sounded weird. I painted a weird picture.
Adrenaline in my soul.
I have to go like
my
this.
Kids are sleeping. Cody Rhodes.
I have to mouth whoa. I can't scream it, so it's like I can't do
Nestle Woe faces.
Nestle Woe face. I'm sure Doc will Photoshop that for something else in his immediate pleasure. So anyway, no, I do think that's the best promo that Cody Rhodes has cut because here's the thing. We've done these things where like he arbitrarily uses big words and says things and like he's trying to use a certain candor and do all these random things when he's talking. This was the first one where I was just like, he talked like a human for once. Like he didn't have an agenda. He just flat out said like, I've been told I'm a prince. I'm taking my crown. I'm not waiting any longer. And I just was like, oof, and it's just like the line that really got me too was when he said, I wear a suit of armor because I want to be somebody. And I was just like, cause I'm not somebody yet. And I'm like, oh, what a great line. Like what a great line to convey that you want to be something that you truly think you should be. And I just thought that was very authentic because it didn't have to come off. It could have backfired, but it didn't. So again, go back and watch it. It's worth, if you haven't watched it, go watch it on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, it's worth the promo by itself is great. Doug has a great point here. Says, what if Randy Orton comes back at WrestleMania and makes Cody lose to Roman because he was under the Randy legacy? I hope Cody does win though.
I think you can save that stuff. I think there's plenty of work that Cody and Randy can do down the line. To me, this is a Cody story and a Bloodline story. I think it'll stay that way. If anyone's interfering, it's Bloodline people or Sammy KO people. I think at this point, we're probably, I don't know what Randy Orton's injury status is, but I would assume that he might be a Raw after Mania guy, except for there are a few people that, it's kind of a mystery what they're doing at Mania. Yeah, one we already talked about. And there's another one that maybe I'll hit on in my hope because there are a few people out that could be ready for a return, or there could just be other people on the roster. But like I said, we'll get to all that stuff, like the Bray Wyatt news and all that stuff later in the show, because I don't know if that's really shine. It's never shine when someone's out of action. So we'll move on to the next thing, Nestlemania. And I'm putting this in the shine because sometimes they give you what you want, and you got to put it in the shine because of it. Edge, Finn Balor, Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. And by God, Nestlemania, we might be getting the demon, not the demon kind, the demon. Like when Finn said that line, Hell tossed me back out because I was too evil for them, whatever he said, or too much of a demon for them. I was just like, And Edge is fucking licking his lips to wrestle Finn and his fucking demon guard and those two to go fucking bananas in Hell in a Cell, do insane spots, have insane violence. They're probably getting that full half hour now, like we talked about. And you know what? The card ain't too thick yet, so give it to him, baby. Because if Finn's the demon, between him and Edge, their entrances are going to be a while. But in the ring, they're going to have so much planned. And you know what? It's one of those things. Again, we've said we have so much fatigue with this feud, but at this point, it's like they're giving us exactly what we asked for. Hell in a Cell ending a feud between two fucking studs, one guy in the twilight of his career, one guy who's been underutilized for years, but we know has the capabilities to be a top guy. Sign me up, Nestlemania. I'm eating it all up.
My two worries here is we got 3 weeks left. What else do we do? Right?
Well, I don't care. That we have a Hell in a Cell.
No, I know.
I think we're at the point now with some of these feuds. It's just like, and we'll talk about some of the feuds they haven't done a good job with. They've been lazy, but it's just like, it's ready. There'll be promos. There'll be bullshit. Like there'll be video packages, but this is good to go.
No, look, I'll be interested to see what a heel demon looks like because we haven't really gotten that in WWE. We've seen it outside in the Indies and Japan and stuff like that, but there's not a lot that we've seen in terms of what the demon. Now, I would hope, you would think, because color scheme, right? that instead of the red, it would be purple and black, right? You would think,
Ooh, I like
right?
that. I like
Right?
that. That'd
That's
be
a little sauce,
aesthetically pleasing for
a little
me.
saucy, right? And
Well,
then so
purple and black and tack, a better
yeah,
version.
yeah, I think it'd be great. And then also my other thought was it was hilarious because I felt like this line was written for me when he goes, "I don't have all night. Spit it out." And then he fucking went on soliloquy directly right afterwards. And I just thought to myself, who's bugging this podcast? Like, is somebody listening right now? It was unbelievable to me that he was just like, I don't have time for it, but I've got time for 7 dad jokes to talk about a Puerto Rican, Australian, Irish, and Mexican emo group. And I was just like, that was a mouthful. What are you doing to me? And then he called them, what did he call them? Like sycophants or something? He called them something.
He has a little bit of that Rousey in him where he throws out these
like,
words where it's like, dude, stop it.
I to this day, I had a college professor. He said something to me that sticks in my mind every single time in my brain. It's in the center of my cortex. It goes, "Why say metropolis when you can say city?" That's
100%.
true. Like,
especially in a wrestling promo, keep it simple, man. Keep it simple, stupid. Like that's the best advice you can get.
It's just bizarre to me. But anyway, we're there. I assume we're gonna get Brood Edge maybe to get that because those interested. That'd be interesting. I mean, if
you're Nestle, you're getting even more excited. Like,
and then maybe
hot under this bandana.
And then maybe because Christian's buried alive, that maybe he can come back in some form. Who knows, right? And wear his turtleneck because it is hot in hell.
Don't tempt me.
So you never know.
Don't tempt me because then I can just go and like, oh, Christian will show up. There'll be a tag team. FTR will show up, and I'm just gonna be sitting there like
pants off, dance off.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of JC going on.
A lot of nakedness below the belt.
Speaking of shine below the belt, what else you got?
I'm sorry, I need a second. That was pretty good. Okay, so I really, really loved this whole thing that on SmackDown they kind of went and weaved through this whole. We haven't talked about the bloodline stuff. But I love that Jay got out there and said his bit and was like, you find the tribal chief, you let him know I'm here. I'm going to talk about business in the ring. And then throughout the night, we had little things here and there, but nothing really. And then we got to the end where it was like Cody Rhodes, oh, my mouth, like get your name out of my mouth. I had to come out and defend myself. Sammy does the whole thing. The one thing I thought was bizarre was they advertised Roman Reigns, but he wasn't on television and he probably wasn't there. It was like a switch because I thought like the whole point was like Jay better come back to the bloodline Friday on SmackDown, and then he showed up on SmackDown and then nothing happened. So I was just like, it was a little odd to me in terms of, again, small potatoes, but the overarching theme of like Cody Rhodes sticking his nose in bloodline business, it works because I think he's trying to mend the fence with Sammy and KO. But
and KO kind of played off it on Monday too.
Yeah, and I think like and they and KP, as much as we joke about how great of a commentary force he is, did say if you watch, I was making a joke there, but if he did say KO and Cody were talking backstage for those that didn't see it, but it's hard for me to think about this going forward going, hey, like, is Cody sticking his nose where it doesn't belong? That doesn't make much sense to me because bloodline business is anything related to Roman Reigns. So he's clearly in the thick of it. So
yeah, but I think it means like sticking his nose like beyond just like the Roman thing, like getting involved with like the Sammy nonsense, like just being like stay out of you. Don't give us more of a reason to hate you. So I kind of get what they were going for there. I think it's just to kind of keep it all intertwined because I think the purpose is to kind of show that to take down Roman and the Usos, you need to have 3 studs like working together, and that's Cody, Sammy, and KO. I think that's kind of the message that we're eventually going to get to. Obviously, we're not there yet because KO wants to Lone Ranger it, which I will say another thing to shine on Raw and Nestlemania is Kathy Kelly had a lot of segments, and that's always shine in my book.
No one's going to complain about
KO.
that.
She had a segment with The Miz and Chad Gable, which those are 3 JC studs right there. And then Seth Rollins came in too. Like I loved that segment personally because Corbin, and I think it was another one where Corbin like was sticking his nose in and Gable was sticking his nose in all these backstage segments looking for Otis. Those were like the little things on Raw that I really liked. And of course, Kathy Kelly, the center of it all. I'm very happy about that.
Nobody better. Let's just put it that way. So you did mention some stuff. I feel like I can say this with, I feel like you and I know each other pretty well. I laughed out loud for the Gable stuff. I laughed out loud for the fucking missing posters. I mean, I laughed at the fucking photo shoot, the 20 quicks. Like I could not I could not stop laughing about like how the jacket barely fit him and his hair was spiked but weird. And then he's like, we can still be friends and you can still be my guy. And it was just like, the whole thing was just so fucking good. And it was just like the juxtaposition of Otis being like the pretty one is so funny to me. Like, and that Gable's ugly. Like, to me, like that
when he broke Monsoir's camera.
Oh my God. Like,
he broke my lens. Oh, I'll die.
I mean, I think Otis as a model, because Doug's asking us in the chat, I think Otis as the model is going to really bring the Maximum Male models to like actual relevance.
I think it's a match made in heaven. I 100% agree.
Because here's the thing, like they were fighting for TV time. They're doing, or I don't know if they're still doing the great social media digital exclusives that they were doing. Those were fantastic. But I think Otis that's his wheelhouse, right? Like
100%.
And I think like you can sit there and you can try to say like he's the tree trunk, he's the number one guy, he's a menace, he's all this stuff. But at the heart of it, he's Chris Farley in a singlet. Like you just he's like, you know, besides Tucky and like the whole Mandy Rose thing and like
that you hit on the head. The best moments of Otis's career or that career was the stuff with Mandy. Yeah. And this is like it's along those lines where you can do silly things with Otis, but obviously we know in the ring like he's a force, so you can definitely do him. And I think he's a guy that I looked at. It's like Otis and Gable had a good run, they did, but I think WWE really does want to push Chad Gable on his own as a serious guy. I think that's something that Triple H wants to focus on in 2023. But it's also like Otis is a guy who should be on TV most weeks in general because, like you said, he's entertaining. Like he really is. He really is. And by taking something else that is also entertaining that people aren't familiar with, and that maybe like if you sent out in the crowd by themselves isn't as over, you stick them with Otis, it makes everything better.
And look, I mean, the thing is I don't necessarily think there's a ceiling for the Maximum Male models. It's not like tag team champions like I was hoping when they first started.
Hey, if they split the belts again, you never know.
But you never know, right? I mean, the thing about, so Doug had a great question saying, you know, is WWE trying to make Otis like Rick Martel? I don't think so, because I think Rick Martel could work. Rick Martel could work. Not that Otis can't work, but Otis looks more like the happy-go-lucky, having a good time, doing like wacky shenanigans. So for me, I don't think there's the same thing. I would love Rick Martel to be part of the Maximum Male models. I think we talked about that months ago when they started. But yeah, I think Otis is his own brand of entertainment, honestly. And I think that Massey and Monsoir being side pieces to Otis being the centerpiece does a lot more, because I don't think Maxine, as great as JC will tell you, as great as she may be in certain aspects, there needs to be somebody that is she's
not a known commodity.
No,
I mean, you see her and you obviously are paying attention, but
yeah,
it's one of those things like she's not an established thing. And I think that's the hardest thing they see is, and they make this mistake with a lot of NXT people all the time, is they take like a group and they're unestablished and they put them all as a thing. And like people, like the majority of the crowd doesn't understand. So how are they supposed to react? You know what I mean? We've seen it with other things, but I think in this situation, the crowd knows who Otis is. So, and if you put Maxine with Otis, people are going to get to know her and like her. Same with Massey and Mansoir, because even though they've been on the main roster, I bet you most people don't even have any idea of what they did before. They have no idea that Massey was in the dumbest fucking faction of all time and that Mansoir like beat Cesaro in Saudi Arabia. Like, you know.
I tend to agree with you. I'm very excited to see where this goes. Again, like we talk about we have our A and B and C stories. This is probably a DNF or whatever.
This is like you talk about all the time, like the breakup. Like you put exactly, palate cleanse.
That's exactly what he's there for. And honestly, he's gonna have a job for the rest of his life because he can do it. And he does it well. And I think like just the idea of like him doing the worm in some type of like ridiculous tennis outfit, or just like something ridiculous like tearaway pants, or just anything you could come up with, like
just tearaway pants.
Just something, right? Like having the fucking, you know, the Chippendales collar and nothing else on. Like you could go all different ways here. And so I just think that he's just great. I'm very excited to see where this goes.
I have a couple quick shines if you want to hit on these before we get to your favorite thing. Another backstage segment was Corbin like just trying to beg himself into things, like asking Miz if he can co-host, and just like the reason why I love this segment is because Miz and Rollins did such a good job too. Is like when like Corbin is asking Miz to do things. Miz is like uncomfortable, and Seth is like trying to goad him into it. But then when the tables flip, it's all of a sudden Miz is laughing, and Seth is uncomfortable, and Miz is trying to goad him into it. And obviously leads to the standard weekly Corbin puts over a top star match. We've seen it with Cody and several other guys. And this week it was to give Seth a little bit of shine. And, Corbin's getting shine by losing. That's how it's working. So it's a little piece right now where Corbin's probably not going to have anything at Mania except for maybe like a segment here or there. But it's just like, it's a more longer form thing with him as we've seen before here.
Jobber alert here. I mean, we don't have a complaint because it worked.
It was what it needed to be.
It was very quick, and Seth Rollins got what the crowd wanted, and everybody was happy. So that's fine. Anything else?
My last thing is I did enjoy, especially Theory and the Street Profits, because obviously we talked about last week, Cena not being there every week. I think the Street Profits are a nice like substitution for like a quick little program here, because obviously I think they're both very talented, but I love that backstage segment because Theory just absolutely trashing them. Obviously it's good for Theory to get him heat, but it's like, it's more of what you guys are looking for with the Street Profits, of being like him, like pretty much stating what is wrong with them and like being like this and that. And so I think it's one of those things that maybe not necessarily cracks in the Street Profits, but putting doubts in their mind, because obviously Dawkins lost this week. Next week he faces Tez. You would assume he's going to beat Tez as well. So I think it's one of those things where it gives the Street Profits a little bit of a road forward, but it's also a good way for Theory to kind of keep him hot without Cena.
There's a lot of positives in this. I thought the matchup with Tez, the matchup with Ford, was really good. So sorry, my brain is
Tez, Ford, Montez. You'll get there.
Sorry, Dawkins and Theory was really good. That's what happens when you have twins. They just beat you into submission. So yeah, I think Dawkins did a great job. I think again, he got to show what he does better in the ring. He's not necessarily the star, but he's doing a really good job. But I think when I saw Tez and Theory kind of face off, I went, ooh, like this would be the United States feud, right? This to me, and so like when they told me next week, I went, why? Like, why not save it? But I mean, we got nothing else, so whatever, it's fine. I'm hoping a DQ happens here so we can save it for later. But
maybe Cena returns and costs him and gets Tez a win. You never know. Maybe it sets up a U.S. title match for Mania, and Theory actually doesn't have the U.S. title in 15. You never know. I doubt it, but
I think there's a lot. Something else that you may have picked up on it, you may not have picked up on it, folks. But there will be something here that I want to talk about. So last week we were sitting here discussing on whether or not John Cena did a great job burying or not burying or making a selling job for this entire feud. He did say something, and if you watch this week when they showed the package, they took it out. Did you notice that, JC?
No, because I fast forward packages.
Oh, interesting. You fast forward packages, you say?
Yeah.
So anyway,
I fast forward anything that I've already seen.
That's fine. So in that package, they did not say whether you win or lose, you still lose. They changed it to when you lose, you go into like non-existence, which I was like, so somebody must have not enjoyed that line just like the rest of us, because it was kind of, to me, the worst part of that promo.
Yeah, it ruined an almost perfect segment.
Yeah, and I think that was hard because I think that Theory has to win, in my opinion, for this to even matter. Because if John Cena is going to lose, then what, right? Like, what happens? It's just whatever. Oh, by the way, your boy Danny says, package shamer. That's on
if it's a new package, like when they did like the Cody Rhodes vignettes, and if it's something like that, I watch them. But if it's a recap package, I ain't wasting my fucking time in a recap package. It's a commercial. It's usually just because they have some sponsor, like, Flonase wants to show you the fucking blow of the week. Like, fuck that.
I think it's progressive. It's the flow of the week.
That's why I made it up so I didn't insult their actual sponsors. Sorry,
we're not sponsored. We don't have a sponsor.
I just said, I don't know what I fast forward these fucking shitty things. I don't care. They're recaps. I don't like recaps. I've already seen it. If I haven't seen it, a recap's great, but I saw it. Don't waste my time.
Doug thinks that Theory will win at WrestleMania. When it comes time for Breaker to come to Raw, I can see Braun taking the title from Theory because his dad and his uncle were both U.S. champions. Not a bad thought, Doug. But I mean, you also got to think about the fact that I feel like Theory is just kind of, I don't know. I feel like no matter how we feel about Theory, they see Theory as the next John Cena, so they handle him with kid gloves. I don't know what it is.
I see him as a top star. I don't think he's John Cena, though. I think he's something different, which I think is okay. But I think that...
But they think franchise,
I see it with him because he's really good. His in-ring is obviously undeniable, and I think his character work, just that we've seen since like the last 6 months, has been really good.
Okay, so real quick, let me ask you this before we get into what Aaron was going to say here.
Yes.
Is Austin Theory a franchise player? Like the franchise player?
I think he could be. Long term, like in terms of like a John Cena who's like your guy for 10 years, probably not. But I think he's a guy where it's like you could look for like, oh yeah, this year Austin Theory was the face of WWE. I think he's that type of talent. And I think he's young enough that he could be more, but I think I already see that potential where it's like, yeah, this guy could be like your world champion and you could put on the top of a billboard. I think he'll get to that level because I think he's that good.
I think he's probably the franchise. I really do. And I'm not trying to curse him here, but
God.
I know. But here's the thing: there's a Randy Orton quality to him. I don't know what it is. I can't.
No, I
put my
agree.
finger on it.
I agree.
There's, and I know Randy Orton's technically not the franchise, but it's like Cena and Randy. Like if Cena wasn't doing something, it's Randy. You know what I mean? So like I think to what you said, I tend to lean on what you said, but I think that I'm going hard in the paint here when it comes to Theory because why would Vince McMahon do all that for some kid? You know what I mean? Like. Vince McMahon's looking to the future. I think
he wasn't the first one. This is a guy Heyman was very high on when he plucked him out of NXT and stuff like this. I mean, this is a kid that they've liked in that forever. And I think Triple H feels the same way too, because he's the one who brought him into NXT and was grooming him down there. So I think, I mean, you see it like if this kid, like he's so young, he's so talented. He's already at this level, this young, like obviously he's had some things in his past, some fuck ups that it happens, especially like with a kid like this, but he seemed to have worked through them and he's on a good path now and he's getting better and better.
So Aaron had an interesting comment that I wanted to get to because he said, and I quote,
answer for this.
This is I like where Aaron's head's at here. What match at WrestleMania is going to be the piss break this year?
You want me to go first? This is so easy. 6-woman tag after the entrances. After I see Trish and Lita's entrances, I'm all set. Piss break. I don't give a fuck about that 6-woman tag. That thing is super hot trash. Throw it out. It'll be a nice piss break after the entrances because I do want to see the entrances. I'm a big entrance guy. But after that, whatever the fuck they do, if they get 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 8 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm pissing the whole time.
He said, I think I forgot about that match. So I tend to agree with you with the 6-woman tag is a thing. Because they didn't do a good job this week with it at all. We'll talk about that in a second. But I would say, like, here's something else that hurts my feelings to my absolute core for me. And I might be on my own island as Nestle Island I've been before. But I think they're doing a disservice to Bianca and Asuka.
Oh,
and I have lost. Well, get them off my TV, get them off my TV, get them off my TV.
Yeah, that's my biggest hit of the week.
I think those two women are fantastic. I don't care. Like, I do not care what happens. I know the match is going to be a banger, but like, will I erupt when the finish happens? I hope so, but I don't feel like that's going to be a match I'm going to be paying close attention to when you have Cody and Roman. You've got a Hell in a Cell. You've got Rhea and Charlotte. You've got all these other ones that I'm just like, I'm focused in on.
So this screams as like the night 2 opener since the rumor is Charlotte, Rhea is the main event of night 1. And I will say this, once they get in the ring, I'm not going to give a fuck. It's the same thing like with Bianca and Sasha. We've talked about it with almost every woman's fucking titles match at WrestleMania the last couple of years. WWE, they're dropping the ball in terms of leading. They haven't been doing a good job for this stuff. And it continues with this. Like this lead up is shit. And we talked about a lot last week in depth, how hard it is to do a babyface feud. And like for Chelsea and Carmella, their parts, I think they're doing fine. The problem is what took me out of it this week is like, I understand what they're trying to do with Asuka. And like, I agree, like, fine, keep her as a badass babyface, but there was nothing from what she did this week that made her look like a badass. I know they were trying to sell me on like the mind games with her dancing with the title, but it just came off as really fucking dumb. Like, it was weird. And I didn't like that. I would have much rather had like Asuka, like be more menacing. Like, obviously she didn't even have like her full, like, face paint on. She was in more of like a relaxed fit with like a lot less of like the look she's been going with. So it just, the aesthetics were already off for me. Then she gets in there and she's just doing like the happy-go-lucky thing. I'm just like, I thought we turned past this yet where like, I thought the approach for this was going to be Asuka being more threatening towards her, but instead it got goofy again. And I was completely out of it because it's one of those things like you're trying to build her as a challenger for Bianca. No one's been challenging Bianca for a while. She's a dominant force. Like that's been the problem. So I was like, a badass Asuka could finally be that person, and they're not presenting her like that. And it seems like they're not even trying to build a feud here. It's just kind of lazy, and that sucks.
Your boy Danny Grimwood said maybe they should replace her with Chelsea Green.
You know what? There'd be a lot more fucking fire in that feud because at least Chelsea's a fucking character and a heel and entertaining and gets fucking reactions. Like It's killing me. Like Asuka and Bianca come out and people like are so excited for their entrances. Then they get to the segments and it's just like, we don't like what we're watching. You're not giving us anything.
No.
Like this is a fucking one of your top matches on the card with fucking your most over woman superstar against like the one who has more accolades than almost anyone in the fucking division, who's like just been repackaged into this badass. And this is what you're giving us? It's fucking pathetic, man. It's pathetic.
I think the hardest part for me was there's two things on Monday that really bothered me. One was Asuka ran down and like whatever, she was wearing an outfit, but then she had like mom sneakers on, which didn't fit. It threw me off. And then on top of that, it made Bianca look like shit because it was like,
100%.
give me back my title, give me back my title, give me back, come on, before recess ends, come on. You know, it was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, I'm sitting there going, she fucking KOD Dewdrop like 3 weeks in a row. And now she's going over here going like, give me back my title. Give me back my title. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't get it. And I think to me, besides this 6-woman tag match, which let's set sail on that piece of shit. But this one to me is like, you can talk me into other matches of being like, there will be a moment. There will be a moment guaranteed one way or another. But I don't know about this match with Asuka and Belair having a moment.
I think
that I'll remember.
I think the moment's that Asuka's gonna win. I think that's a big deal because Bianca's been dominant. The problem is like the lead-ins completely sucked. I think though, when we look back at WrestleMania, we're gonna look back and be like, man, that Bianca Asuka match was pretty damn good. Because here's the thing about Bianca: when she's fucking on a big stage, she only puts on banners, and we know Asuka's talent. So I have no doubt it's gonna be good. I just like this is something that deserves a good lead-in, and they could tell a good story with a new Asuka, and they're not doing it. It's fucking pathetic.
It's just like 2 years ago, I was on the horse about Banks and Belair having a shitty lead-in. Last year,
the match of the year.
yeah, it was just like last year. It was just the same thing. It's just like, what are we doing? Like, it just, like you said, they just don't make cohesive stories.
Because even Charlotte and Rhea, we can talk about that too. Like, Rhea won the Royal Rumble. Like, this is a great rematch, but like, what have they done besides Dom and Charlotte's promo? They've put in no work into this feud either. It's just like, oh yeah, it's on the marquee. It's good. It's fucking Charlotte. She's a stud. People love Rhea. It'll work. And it's just like, can you put in a little more effort? Like, it's sad. It's sad that the lack of effort they're putting in these two matches.
The broadcast has arrived. Evening. He is having an alcoholic beverage, by the way. So nice job with the. There you go. Yep. Have it on for those that indulge. Have it up. But no, So here's the thing. Rhea Ripley needs to win, right? Rhea Ripley needs to beat Charlotte at WrestleMania. Right. I'll even go as far as I think Rhea Ripley's been super white hot when it comes to just her reactions, getting involved with Judgment Day, having different things going on. To me, she's been doing the work. Charlotte's been kind of like, Charlotte's not a great babyface in general. So we know this is going to be rough. So it is tough, but she's doing the work too. But she's on SmackDown doing like random matches against Shotzi, which didn't help the situation because it didn't do anything here. Again, we love Shotzi on this program. We're big Shotzi people, but God damn it, like make it make sense. Like it's just, that's the hardest part for me is I don't need a lot to be, handheld, but I need something. I need something to like sink my teeth into here. And also on top of it, I think I might be alone again on this, but the Rhea Ripley as 11 with John Cena doing the voiceover, which was pretty good. It felt like it felt flat. Like they were just getting good and they cut to something. And I was like, okay, I didn't see anything here. Like, and I think that's the hardest part was like, and this is my criticism across the board for WrestleMania, with the exception of the Bloodline. I think they're almost there, and Dom and Ray are pretty much all set, but like they're almost there, or they don't give a shit. Like it's one or the other. It's like it's half baked or not at all. Fucking raw sushi. It doesn't make any sense. Just saying. Nothing against raw sushi, but Aaron says Rhea got to win or Judgment Day. I don't know what that emoji was. I got two boxes on that.
Like death, but I mean, how many times have we seen Judgment Day lose and they get more over? So I think it's just as long as Dom is doing what he's doing, they're gonna be over. People love Finn. Priest puts on banners, and Rhea's a stud. Rhea's gonna win. If she doesn't win, I'd be stunned because it's completing her full arc and getting her the title and whatever. But it would certainly be a surprise if Charlotte won.
All right, let's get into why Nestle hates wrestling for a couple seconds. All right, let's move on. First off, I think we didn't really talk about it, but it's worth repeating here. Trish Stratus gets jumped, and whatever. Then it's a segment where nobody wants to talk to Kathy Kelly because they got to see what happens. And then, of course,
I would have talked to her.
I would have too. Trish Stratus walks out with, of course, the fucking just moment of the night being like, I'm not hurt. I'm just pissed. And I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Are we playing a game of fucking whose line is it anyway here? Like, what fucking emoticon can I use? What is she fucking emoting? Like, it makes no goddamn sense to me, right? Like, she again, Hall of Fame talent, can fucking do it. But it's like someone pulled the fucking string in the back of her cord, and it was like, I only have 5 phrases, folks.
There's a snake in my boots.
There's a snake in my boots. Hands in the sky. Like, it just, I couldn't. My face was melting because Trish Stratus was, Trish Stratus, and it's just like when I see her do stuff, I'm like, why are you opening your mouth now? I don't want to hear you. Like, nothing authentic comes out of your mouth now. It's just fucking like, let's just get to the point where it's just. She turns on Becky. They have a fucking feud. Let's just do it. That's where I wanted to go. And
I just get all this shit out of my face. Piss break.
Okay. Very quickly, Doug says, if Ray does have a match with Dominic at WrestleMania, do you think Dominic will try to tip the mask on the line? We talked about that earlier.
I think that's down the line, yeah, because I feel like this one is just trying to get him to have a match with him.
Our boy Joe Stopper, welcome back, buddy. I love you. Missed you. He says she emotes Canadian, which... Have a Molson.
Eh?
I don't know. She's very polite, although
AEW's in Canada this week, Joe. So be ready for that.
Winnipeg. Can't wait.
Winnipeg, as Jade was calling them. Winnipegs.
Winnipigs.
Nice to have her back on TV this week. About time, Tony. You fucking piece of shit.
Yeah. The snowman. Do you want to build a snowman? Moving on. Braun and Ricochet lose to the Viking Raiders because there's a curse. There's a curse in the corner over here. Where like fucking Valhalla, whatever the hell her name is, fucking does a fucking voodoo curse. Now, granted, if you're gonna go fucking voodoo, go all in with Papa Shango, make him fucking have a fucking conniption and spit out black blood or something. Let's do that. I'm in. But if it's one of those things where it's like, ooh, Danhausen, that's already Danhausen's gimmick. Like, it's weird. I don't know. And then Braun and Ricochet just kind of feel like they're in La La Land until after Mania, I'm sure. It's just, there's so many things on SmackDown. And it's just like a head scratcher. We already talked about pretty much everything else. Moving on to Raw. Again, I know it sounds like I shit on him all the time, but it's just like Loomis and Johnny versus Dom and Priest. Again,
here we go.
It's just, you're right, though. Everybody's right. The fucking song makes it not able to connect.
Right?
It's so bad.
It sucks.
And then he gets in the ring and he's just like, yeah. And like, nobody cares. Like, people used to fucking, like, he was a
I think the other toughest thing is like NXT, they're at those smaller arenas. These bigger arenas, like, it just like, you got to be like Cody to get like the super things. If not, you kind of get, because I mean, there's like, it's another thing. This is another match that we can like hit on quickly. It's just like, I noticed it in the last couple weeks. With the Bronson Reed entrance, they pull out to all these fucking wide shots when he comes out, and it's everyone sitting on their fucking hands. And it's just like, why would you put this in this guy's entrance? Nobody's fucking reacting to this fucking behemoth. It's just like, at least try to hide it, because he is a fucking impressive human. But it's like they do these zoom out fucking shots.
I have a better idea. See what they're doing in NXT with Axiom, with the fucking weird gimmick and the fucking entrance, because they fucking yell tsunami or earthquake every time he fucking splashes a guy. Just cut to a bunch of people who are not fucking doing anything and have the camera fucking shake while he's walking. There you go. You got something, because then he's a fucking tsunami. Like, it's just, there's so many things we could do here. Does that blazer come in a size 50? Oh, he's talking about he's going to win the predictions here. Oh, bold.
Beating me.
Buddy, you guys are tied, and I'm second place so far. So let's worry about that. By the way, you can buy your own goddamn blazer. I'm not fucking giving up this blazer. This is a fucking nice blazer.
That thing would fucking pop if I tried to get it over my shoulders.
Are you saying something about me?
No, you're a little boy. It's okay.
I'm a little boy. I'm like 5 years older than you. I'm not little.
Yeah, but you're a little boy. Little shoulders.
I'll have you know, it's a healthy handful. All right? That's what I am, a healthy handful. Anyway, so moving on to something else.
I wasn't talking about that.
No, I'm just
saying. Your shoulders. You don't wear a jacket over your pants.
You can put anything over your pants. I don't know.
True.
This has gotten off the rails. I think it's because Doug and Joe and the other Joe and Aaron and Broadcast have put us in a position where
we haven't talked about Brock and Omos yet.
All right, let's do it.
No, the reason why I'm putting this in my heat is because This segment was fucking perfect. But what did we say last week, Nestlemania? Don't fucking touch. And they fucked it up when they touched. Did you hear the fucking reactions when they were standing face to face? They got holy shit chance without doing anything. With just because Omos is this fucking big and Brock looks like a dwarf compared to him, which never happens. It was fucking perfect. Like they could have done like the bullshit handshake and done like a little shove, but like trying to make Brock fucking do that fucking thing. You can explain it better than I can. It's just like, you fucked it up. Don't fucking touch. They broke the cardinal rule and they fucking ruined it because it would have been perfect.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I'm gonna put on my actual wrestling hat for 1 second. So for those that you don't know, I did train to be a professional wrestler. I work in independent promotions. I help people do other things. Help them. You learn a certain way when they trained you. When they trained me to go over the top rope, right? What you're supposed to do is, and you'll watch it. Any normal wrestler who has been in NXT does this. They hook one arm over the top rope. They fucking take a clothesline. They do a backflip. They take their free hand. They post on the apron and they land. That is how you were taught to go over the top. Now, there are two people that do not do that and somehow became main eventers anyway. That is Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar. There are other people I'm sure that don't do it as well, but Brock Lesnar is the reason why that Omos thing looked bad. Our boy Danny Grimwood thinks differently. Danny, when your boy Leo learns how to go over the top rope, you can say you're apologizing to me personally because I'm right. But until then, shut your British ass up. So,
Brit shamer.
Brit shamer. There you go. Hashtag Brit shamer. So look, he called you a package shamer. There's a dick joke in there somewhere. But here's the other thing too, folks. I think that Brock Lesnar did his fucking cartwheel gimmick over the top rope and made it look worse. Now you can say Omos missed him with the fucking hand.
Omos had his fucking hand on his neck until they got to the ropes.
No,
and then obviously when you push, you don't want to push a guy through his neck to the rope because you give him whiplash.
Yeah.
So he took it off to do it, and Brock fucked it up.
And the reason why, if you go back and watch it in slow motion, this is a very dangerous thing. This is the reason why they teach you to go backwards, because you land free of the bottom rope. But if you watch the way that Brock does it, he almost did it here. Thank God he's got traps like a fucking animal. When you flip, your head goes underneath the bottom rope and you can actually snap your neck and die. So you have to do it a certain way to survive. That's what you need to do. Now, that's your education for the moment. You want to believe me, go fuck yourself. I don't really care. But that's why it sucked. It was not Omos's problem. It was not Omos's fault. And I think that's it. Okay?
Yeah.
Was
so
it say
an Homo sapien, not an homophobe.
There you go. That's okay, Adam. We know you can't accept being wrong.
Adam's right. I agree with him, Danny, because I've heard this from multiple people. Every wrestler seems to have the same take. I will go with them on this one because that's what it looked like to me too. Because I remember something like when I first started paying attention to wrestling, like people always told me it's like a lot of the times when you see moves like that, it's on the person receiving it, not necessarily the person doing it when it's a fuck up. So, and this appears to be one of those cases as well. So get off Omos's back. He's an easy target. People always look for a reason. They did the same thing with Braun because you all fucking size shamers. Nestle hates the little guys. You all hate the big guys. But me, JC, I love them all equally, baby.
You know what? I think I'm going to call you Dr. Spin, JC, because here's a moment where you could have tagged in and been like, I agree with Nestle.
I do agree with you.
No, but you didn't. What you did do, which was how you do things, and I appreciate this. You went on a whole thing like you were like, oh, Omos was right. Omos was right. So I appreciate that you're playing to Danny, being like, oh, Danny, I still love you. You're wrong, but here's Homo sapien. But you didn't say I was right. So, just saying.
I know you were right in this particular situation. Doesn't happen often, but I think you were right. And I think Omos was in the right. And you all should get off Omos's big ass back because this motherfucker would throw you through the fucking pew, 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 pew.
Are you getting me an apple because you think I look like Carlito? Because I spit in the face of people who think I'm cool?
They spit in the face of people who think they're cool.
I don't know. I can't. I don't even know. So this is an odd thing for Doug to say. I'm saying this in all good. You both remind me of Joey Styles and Bubba Ray. Now, here's an interesting fact, Doug. Which one's Bubba Ray? Type it in the chat right now and see who cries a little inside.
I'm fine. I'd be fine. I'm fine with either one.
I'm hoping he calls you Bubba Ray, honestly.
I know, because you don't like Bubba Ray, which he agreed with you on this point, Nestle. This Omos thing.
Listen, wrestlers stick together. It's just what it is, folks. It is what it is. Anyway,
hopefully, or do you have more heat?
Nah, let's just go. We can go. Go ahead.
Glorious, you're my only hope. I'm wearing the shirt. Hurt business. As we know, unfortunate thing with Bray. There was all the bullshit rumors, but WWE said there's a physical issue. Who the hell knows? All we know is that he's out for a while, and that means Bobby Lashley does not have an opponent at WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley is a big name. He needs an opponent at WrestleMania. So I was trying to go through and figure out who it could be. In WrestleMania, I didn't really have a good answer myself, so I kind of want to throw some against the wall here and see what you in the chat think. So, opponent nominee number 1 for Bobby Lashley. I'm a size guy. Braun Strowman, yay or nay?
I did they already have a feud?
Probably. But again, I'm just spitballing here with people who have nothing to do.
Okay. I don't think Braun's done enough lately for it to matter.
That's fine. Bronson Reed. This could be. I'm not a Bronson Reed guy, but if there's ever a time for a guy to take advantage of an opportunity who's got some size, it'd be a fresh feud. Bronson Reed, Bobby Lashley, yay or nay?
No.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't give a fuck about Bronson Reed. This one's for you. Von Wagner.
Let's go. I'm so in on the wagon. Listen. If it's not the wagon, I'm going to be disappointed. No, of course
it won't be. The last 2 names I have, they were a tag team, but maybe one's ready, maybe one isn't. We've seen a lot of Lashley and Riddle. They could call back to that. Or as earlier, as someone pointed out in the chat, Randy Orton. Those are 2 surprise guys that maybe come back. I think they're unlikely, but I was just trying to think of big names here. They obviously could. LA Knight's been talking about having a match. They could just stick these 2 guys together, but I think they both are kind of doing separate things. So I don't know. I mean, if Randy Orton's coming back, I think him and Lashley, I'd be fine with a one-off there.
But does it scream WrestleMania to you?
No, but nothing is, because it was supposed to be Lashley Wyatt. Now we don't have it, so now we need a plug-in. That's why, honestly, I think Bronson Reed might be the best call, because the new talent, they match up in terms of physicality, and it's a guy that you could get some exposure to that people aren't going to know, and maybe people come away impressed with him. Who knows? Again, they'll do the fucking wide shot of the crowd with him, and no one will be reacting. Whereas Lashley, everyone's on their feet, go bump, bump, bump. So, I don't know, dude.
That's rough. Okay, so in the chat, Aaron says Bobby versus Priest. I'm intrigued.
I'd be cool with that.
I'm intrigued with that. And then, of course, your boy Doug, who's been on fire tonight, says Bobby versus Solo or LA Knight. So Solo's
a good one because he doesn't have a dance partner.
Solo's interesting to me because I feel like that would be an interesting way to parlay, if we ever get there, Hurt Business Bloodline.
I think so. That'd be cool.
So I think he's onto something here. I think he's definitely onto something. Anything else you want to put in the chat before we move on? I'm just waiting, giving them a couple seconds.
I think we just go to your hope.
Okay. All right. So my hope is very, very simple, folks. I definitely am enjoying WrestleMania. I'm enjoying the card, but I feel like The Miz needs something. I feel like The Miz is going to have an impromptu match here. And I'm kind of hoping that The Miz struts out Maurice for the night 1. They have the whole Miz TV thing. I think what they could do here is have a lot of fun. And I'm hoping, as much as you guys kind of don't think that this is, like, you'll laugh when I say this, but I'm thinking about this and I really do want this. I think that as much as I piss on Johnny Gargano, I think having Johnny Gargano and Candice have a match against The Miz and Maurice, which would negate anything. The Miz can slip on a banana peel the next night. He's fine. You know what I mean? Maurice can have pie in her face or cake in her face like she did. She's fine. But we need Johnny Gargano to get out of this stupid funk. Like, I'm not a Johnny guy. I clearly know his value. I get that. But if you're gonna let him do fucking stand and deliver, whatever. That it is what it is. I'm sure that match will be amazing. But let him, on night 2, let him have an impromptu match with The Miz and Maurice. I think that way it would do something for him, because that man needs to be launched in some way. And I feel like The Miz is already adjacent to him, so there's not a lot of heavy lifting to be done here. And I think that Gargano deserves some type of WrestleMania moment here, right? Because he needs something. That's my hope, because I feel like, why would Triple H bring him up? Why would Triple H believe in this guy so much, to not do something? Or here's an even spitballing idea. He confronts The Miz. The Miz is like, dude, I'm in $1 million suit. I'm not going to fight you. Fucking Ciampa from behind. Fucking then you have Ciampa and Gargano at WrestleMania night 2. That to me is That's fine. I can deal with that.
That's the shoe I feel like we're waiting for drop, is why they're not going all in on the Miz Gargano feud. Because I feel like you have to address, like, who does Ciampa choose? Does he choose the guy that he was beginning to call his best friend or his former? But you know what I mean? So I feel like and I don't know his timeline. So that's why I feel like they're kind of just kicking it down the road, because they feel like this could be something in post WrestleMania where it could get a lot of people really excited. So I feel like they're going to save it, but I don't disagree. That is a feud I want to see at some point.
And I think the Miz deserves a match. I know the Miz is going to be the host, but we've talked about the host is pretty much a fucking, whatever. But like, I think the Miz deserves it. I think Johnny should be doing something. That's my hope. I can't believe I did a hope for Johnny Gargano. TJ, if you're listening out there, that was for you, because quite frankly, I must be on drugs. On that note, let's get some comeback in here. Who are you going to give your comeback to this week?
So I'm going to AEW. And obviously, like I told you, Powerhouse won the TNT Championship. And it would be very easy for me to give him my comeback. But Nestlemania, we're about to enter a world where JC never thought he would go, because I fucking nominated this guy for worst thing of the year in the knockers in the past. But my comeback is going to QT Marshall. You know why? This guy's the fucking drizzling shits. But you know what? I love that he just does what he believes in, full speed ahead. Like, he got in spats with a bunch of fucking them virgin fake writers on the internet and whatever. And he kind of like explained himself, being like, look at, man, like I live and breathe, and I had nothing, and Cody gave me an opportunity, and now I'm here and I'm living and breathing for AEW. But the reason why with QT, I love to shit him as an on-air screen it, but I think the guy obviously behind the scenes is incredible, and he's helped train so many people. And I think like a lot of people, like the younger talent AEW, like point to him. Oh shit. Fuck yeah, my bet covered. They point to him as a guy that has really helped them sorry, I've had the game on the side the entire time. You keep looking off camera. I had 3.5 and they won by 4. So Texas A&M Corporate Crispy, we're 1-0 in March Madness, baby. But sorry. But what was I saying? Oh, QT Marshall.
QT Marshall.
So the reason why I like this one, I'm giving him my comeback, is because I am really high on Powerhouse Hobbs. I ran through it every week. I talk about him. He's a guy that's completely like redone his body, his look, his character. He's done a great job. But when I look at him, he's a guy that needs some sort of representation. And the reason why I kind of like this segment last week is because obviously Wardlow is a big time baby face. You didn't really want Powerhouse to go out and get the clean win at this point over him. So you needed something dusty. And the reason why I love this QT callback is because QT was trying to help Hobbs back in the Ricky Starks feud, and he kept failing and failing. And since he's dropped all his little minions and he's kind of on his own, and I kind of like am into the idea, because I think we've seen, obviously it was in his hometowns in California, but like people are kind of like Powerhouse Hobbs. So if you want to be this big bad heel dominant champion, what's his heater? Well, this fucking heater is QT Marshall, because that motherfucker gets booted. Like, I boo him the second I fucking see him, because he, like I said, drizzling shits. But he is the perfect guy to heel manage Will Hobbs. I think it makes Hobbs better. I think it makes his title better. I think it makes segments every week better. They're giving him fucking QTV this week. I can't wait to see it. I hope it's fucking half cringe, half good. But Nestlemania, I never thought we'd be in this realm. But sometimes I can look at something and be like, you know what? It's always been a square peg in the round hole with QT for me. They finally found that square hole where I think this can work, because it's not going to be about QT. He's obviously going to do a good job, like whatever, but this is about bringing Hobbs to the next level. And I think he's a good fit to do that. I think it's going to work. I think it's already started working. So QT Marshall, you get my comeback in the upset of 2023.
And Doug asks you, do you think AEW is getting ready for Hobbs to go after MJF?
Not anytime soon. I think he's on his own. I think if anything, this is kind of getting Wardlow away from the TNT to kind of start him on his path towards MJF. I think Hobbs is good where he is right now. I think he is a future world champion. He would be my pick as the first African-American world champion in AEW, because I don't know if Keith Lee is going to get there at this point. The only other guy I could see maybe right now is Swerve, but I don't know. I don't think he's on that level. I think Hobbs, he's not ready now, but I think in the next few years, he's a guy that could have a chance to do it. I'm high on him, but I think having a nice mid-card run here to kind of let him continue to figure it out is the right decision.
I agree. I don't think he's ready right now, especially where he's just kind of figuring it out. So I think that, and you're not going to get hated from us, Doug. We love MJF here as well, so don't worry about it.
Big MJF guys. Absolutely.
My comeback this week goes to, you guessed it, me. No, I'm kidding. I'm giving it to Sheamus and McIntyre in the double pin in the Fatal 5-Way or whatever it was. I couldn't stop laughing when you guys were texting me because I called it last week on this program saying double pin. And now we're in this random thing that I just was like, okay, this is the most intriguing thing for me going into WrestleMania. Now, next week, I assume that we're going to have some random shenanigans where fucking Imperium beats them all up and they just go, fuck it. Because it was funny watching the backstage segment on Friday where, Gunther was saying singular, like trying to make it sound like all that stuff. I just find it, these guys are all 3 international talents, 3 fucking meaty men slapping meat, doing whatever they're going to do at WrestleMania. And I think it's an easy way for Gunther to lose the championship if he needed to. Sheamus deserves his roses. I don't think Mac needs it, and Gunther can continue on, but I think Gunther Cody down the line is going to be, that's going to be something else to me. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that's where I'm excited. Obviously pat on the back for me for calling a double pin out of nowhere, but also the Mac and Sheamus to me have been, we've been awfully tough on McIntyre in this entire podcast, as long as the McIntyre has existed in the jobber knocker world. But I think he's done a great job here playing the, well, what the fuck? I didn't do much babyface kind of thing. So, and Sheamus has done a good job being fucking irate for no reason. And I think I love that. I love when Sheamus is going to blow a blood vessel out of his fucking brain. Like he's just fucking awesome. And I'm a big Sheamus guy. So I'm hoping that we get to them. I hope we get to that point. I really hope we get to that point. So
yeah, it seems like we're on that path. Obviously, they're doing a match this week, I think, to the number 1 contender. So
yeah, Shamaz.
Yeah, so that brings us to the big old finish. That's the only thing I've seen for SmackDown. I don't know if you've seen anything else, but is Drew versus Sheamus, number 1 contenders match. Raw does have a few things, though. As we mentioned earlier in the show, Austin Theory takes on Montez Ford. We have an episode of Impulsive with Logan Paul, which is exciting to have him on TV. Also excited to have our tribal cuck. Roman Reigns will be on Raw. I didn't see anything about him on SmackDown. Maybe he will be, but he definitely will be on Raw. And then we also have a women's tag team match playa in the old Can They Coexist? Bianca Belair and Asuka take on Chelsea Green and Mella. I hope to God we get some fucking physicality between Asuka and Bianca in this match. You know what I would almost kind of like is if Asuka's kind of being a dick and Bianca kind of snaps and kind of beats her up. I wouldn't mind seeing a little edge that way. I don't know what they'll probably just fucking do the bullshit they always do, and they'll probably win. But how nice would it be to see like Bianca cost Asuka cost Bianca, and Chelsea and Carmella to get a nice little win here?
So I only ask this because I want to make sure that we're not hypocrites here.
Yes.
You don't want Brock and Omos to touch.
Yes.
But Asuka and Belair is okay to touch.
Yes, because I think they need something. We agree. Like there's nothing there. So you have to give us a little taste. We've seen Bianca and Asuka wrestle before. Brock and Omos had never fucking come across each other. Like they haven't, that has never been a thing. It's a brand new thing. And when you have a fucking big giant, like it just save it. Like, you know what I mean? But with Bianca and Asuka, it's like, this is a feud that is fucking floundering as we went in depth with earlier. It was like, you got to give me something, a little edge somewhere to make me buy in. And they haven't done that yet.
Okay. Fair enough. I just want to make sure I was doing my due diligence.
Yeah. You're trying.
Okay.
You're trying to poke holes and shit, but you can't because I'm untouchable.
I poke holes like Swiss cheese, baby.
You really do.
I fucking love Swiss cheese, by the way. Best cheese.
I like all cheese. It's not the best cheese, but it is a solid cheese.
Gouda number 1?
No, Gouda's good, but it's not.
Gouda's
I
good.
like all cheese. To make me make a list, I'd really have to think about it, but those aren't.
Can we do as a joke? Can you tweet out JC's power rankings of cheese?
I can give you the most underrated cheese right now is Munster cheese.
Munster,
I love Munster.
Get the fuck out of here. Monterey Jack's up there.
Monterey Jack's fine. You have shitty taste if you don't like.
You have shitty cheese.
But you know what? We're gonna get some dynamite because this argument's getting explosive. So we'll go to fucking dynamite in this shit, man. I'm excited for QTV with Hobbs. We already hit on that. But looking at the rest of this card, we have a lot of segments. We have a MJF Reba Mitzvah, which I'm assuming, I feel like this has been teased, and it's pretty obvious that Jungle Boy's going to probably interrupt him and have a little quick feud with him here. That's my expectation, but I am curious with this segment.
All I know is if he actually doesn't have a fiance anymore, I hope he just brings out all these broads that he's just tonguing. You know what I mean? Like, that's all he's going to do. He's going to be like that's all he's going to do. Did you see the last time he fucking, like, he tongued his girlfriend
100%.
Oh my God. I don't know. It just is what it is. I don't know. It's just weird.
Speaking of weird, the Outcasts are going to talk, which, I mean, this group sucks, but I thought Ruby did have a hell of a promo last week. If I wasn't giving QTM my comeback, she would have got it.
Do you understand this joke?
Halloumi, is that a type of cheese? It could be. There's so many cheeses out there.
You can't. What is it? I'm not even gonna.
Nestle, what did the cheese say to itself in the mirror?
Halloumi?
Halloumi. It's got to be a type of cheese.
Okay.
You're not very cultured, so I'm not surprised.
Well, that's why the Brit's gonna tell us in a second why I'm a stupid man. It's fine.
Do you have any thoughts on the Outcasts?
They're like the lady NWO that nobody cares about.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Losers.
We have some matches. We have a 6-man tag, Dark Order versus. You down with BCC? No, not me.
Heel BCC is better to me than anything else. Like John.
Yeah,
Moxley,
but Willa Yuta fucking sucks.
I know.
He looks
Willa
like a
Yuta
fucking 2-year-old twerp. Get out of my face.
There's
man.
nothing like literally. I say this every time he cuts a promo. It's you doing your Vince McMahon impersonation every time he opens his mouth. He sounds like a pussy.
And they put him with Cesaro, which is like, what I say? Oh, sorry, Claudio, because that makes him a lot more intimidating. The Ring of Honor champion. Go to fucking Honor Club and feud with Eddie Kingston. I'm sad I can't see it because I love Eddie, but fucking shit. Get out of here. Dark Order shit. Get out of here.
I just can't. I just fucking can't. I don't care.
I did save some decent stuff. There's a Jade Cargill Open Challenge, which is nice to see Jade back on TV. I don't know what the fuck Tony's been doing keeping her off TV but we know he doesn't respect the women's division, but I have no idea. Do you have any thoughts of this could be?
I would imagine Stat is coming back.
Really? Because I would be cool. That would be a big moment. That would be a really cool moment. That would be really cool.
I don't mean she's not Canadian, but I mean I think that Statlander's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like this is more a one-off with a Canadian of some kind.
Is there anybody that's actually Canadian on the roster?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's why I feel like it'll be some. It's some indie wrestler that people will know that I won't, and I don't know. Maybe she'll fight the Mountie. That'd be cool. We also have they renamed a title. Orange Cassidy's All Atlantic title is now the international title. And there's when you have something called an international title, there's nothing like having a fucking Jeff Jarrett and Orange Cassidy fight over it. Fucking get Jeff Jarrett, fucking this fucking guy. Like, if he wins this fucking title, I will turn off my TV. Because Orange Cassidy, A, is a great champion and a stud, and B, Jeff Jarrett fucking sucks. Get him out of here.
Listen, I'll say a lot. Jeff Jarrett winning this championship
so much heat.
Would be so much heat. It would. Here's the thing. It would incite so much visual. Like,
it would incite me.
It's a visceral reaction.
Yeah.
Like your knee jerk reaction to be like.
That's why I think they're gonna do it, and I'm fucking terrified.
Well, here's the thing. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, and you can tell me to go fuck myself, and I'm sure you will. Thank you, appreciate it. The other thing would be that I think that Orange Cassidy is the best champion in AEW by far.
Orange Cassidy is one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet. So
I mean, I think gimmick alone is stellar.
I think it's hard to not. I mean, MJF's obviously the Bryan thing was lame, but it's hard not to see. He's just like.
But Jade's better than MJF in my opinion.
Yeah, but Jade is no one to fight, so I think that's a trap. Orange Cassidy does put on banners every week.
But Orange Cassidy is easier and accessible in terms of a feud, right? Like,
well, I think he's
that's why it works.
I agree with you in terms of like he is the perfect working man's title. Like he is the perfect guy because he has a match every week. He makes anyone look good. He gets reactions no matter what he does. It's his style just works. He's digestible and he's the stud. So I don't disagree, but I would personally say MJF is their best champion. Hayter could be if they actually featured her, but they don't. But again, Tony Khan doesn't respect women's wrestling. We also have Nestlemania, this fucking thing, which is just like, I mean, look at the 9 individuals, like fucking it's so cool. But in terms of a match, I can't make heads or tail of a trios title triple threat match with 9 fucking dudes. Never mind the 80 people in the JAS and the 80 people in the Elite, and then fucking House of Black's little harlot there. It's just, imagine there's going to be like fucking 50 people surrounding the ring. It's going to be like the COVID times, except for they're not going to be fans. They're all part of the show.
I told you, I said the reason, first off, I hate 6-man, 6-woman. I hate 6 anything tags, 9-person tags. Get me the fuck out of here. How is the referee gonna fucking keep this in check, right? Like, what are we doing here? And then, of course, here, give me just this is gonna be me tomorrow night when I'm watching. I'm gonna have it on mute, and the entire time I'm just gonna go, high spot, high spot, high spot, high spot, do something, and here's Kenny Omega. Like that's exactly what it's gonna be. Yeah. Jericho, flabby stomach. You know, that's exactly
what
it is.
I just picture. I just picture fucking Sammy, Murphy, and fucking the Young Bucks just trying to outdo each other with obnoxiously dangerous spots.
It's something.
It's a match, and again, 9 individuals that I love to watch wrestle. Jericho, I mean, he still gets it. He's just in terms of athleticism, but it's just like it's on paper. I was like, whoa! Like when I was thinking it was just going to be JAS like elite, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool because I really am high on Sammy and Garcia right now. It'd be nice to see them get in there with those guys. But then when they just like, oh no, it's just going to be a fucking trios title triple threat, I was just like, oh my god, my head's going to explode.
I would rather.
I immediately thought of you, and
I know. I've never seen this happen. And I don't want to. And there's a reason for it. You know what I mean?
We're gonna see it tomorrow, baby.
This is going to be a clusterfuck. There's no other way to put it. It's going to be a clusterfuck. And honestly, I would rather see Sammy and Dan get the fucking tag titles. I think they're just Dan
the Man Garcia.
Dan the Man Garcia. He's got some great.
I like him. I like him.
A lot of charisma.
Together. I'm high on both of them.
Yeah, I think them as a tag team would be fucking awesome. So,
I mean, who's even? Oh, the Guns. I mean, I like the Guns as champs, but I wouldn't mind. I think a Sammy Garcia with the Acclaim feud would be really good.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
That'd be a good
absolutely, absolutely. That's probably where we're headed. On that note, I think we're pretty much done. Yeah,
I think so. I don't.
Thank God, I'm exhausted.
I was a long one tonight.
Anyway, we appreciate all of you listening and watching and having a great time with us. We'll be back next week with more Jobberknockery.
Yeah.
And cheese.